Now we will study about the counseling skill, still in the group leadership series of group counseling. It is generally accepted that the positive therapeutic relationship is necessary but not sufficient to produce client change. Certainly, it is essential that leaders possess the knowledge of how groups best function and that they have the skill to intervene in timely and effective ways. Some of the skills you will need to acquire and to continue to reflect as a competent group leader. Active listening. It is more important to learn how to pay full attention to others as they communicate, and this process involves more than merely listening to the words. It involves absorbing the content, noting gestures and subtle changes in voice or expression, and sensing underlying messages. Group leaders can improve their listening skill by first recognizing the barriers that interfere with paying attention to others. Reflecting feelings. Reflecting is a skill that is dependent on active listening. Is the ability to convey the essence of what a person has communicated so the person can see it. Many inexperienced group leaders find themselves conning most of their interaction to merely reflection. As members continue to talk, these leaders continue to reflect. Carried to its extreme, however, reflection may have little meaning. For example, member, I really didn't want to come to the group today. I'm bored and I don't think we've gotten any place for weeks. Leader, you sound discouraged about the possibility of not getting much from this experience. So, what leader said earlier is the reflecting feelings of the member. Clarifying. Clarifying is a skill that can be valuably applied during the initial stages of a group. It involves focusing on key underlying issues and sorting out confusing and conflicting feelings. For example, member, I'm angry with my father and I wish I didn't have to see him anymore. He hurts me so often. I feel guilty when I feel this way because I also love him and wish he would appreciate me. Leader, you have feelings of love and anger, and somehow having both of these feelings at once presents a problem for you. From that example, we know that clarification can help the client sort out her feelings so that she can eventually experience both love and anger without experiencing overwhelming guilt. However, it may take some time before she can accept this polarity. Summarizing. The skill of summarizing is particularly useful after an initial check-in at the beginning of a group session. When the group process becomes bogged down or fragmented, summarizing is often helpful in deciding where to go next. For example, after several members have expressed an interest in working on a particular personal problem, the leader might point out common elements that connect these members. At the end of the session, the leader might make some summary statements or ask each member to summarize. For instance, a leader might say, before we close, I'd like each of us to make a brief statement about his or her experience in the group today. Interpreting. Group leaders who are more directive are likely to make use of interpretation, which entails offering possible explanations for certain behaviors or symptoms. If interpretations are plausible and well-timed, they can result in a member moving beyond an impasse. This is the example. Donnie, when a person in the group talks about something painful, I've noticed that you usually intervene and become reassuring. This tends to stop persons the emotional experience and exploration. Do you have an awareness of this? And what might that say about what is going on with you? It is important that the interpretation be presented as a hypothesis rather than as a fact, and that the person has a chance to consider the validity of this hunch in the group. In addition to making interpretation for individuals, whole group interpretation are appropriate. An example of this is a leader pointing out how many members may be invested in attempting to draw a particular member out. A leader might suggest that such behavior is an avoidance pattern on the part of the group as a whole. This interpretation may mean something very different during a transition stage than in a working stage. Member behavior needs to be interpreted in light of the developmental level of the group. Questioning. If a member happens to be experiencing intense feeling, questioning is one way of reducing the intensity. Asking, "Why do you feel that way?" is rarely helpful because it takes the emotional material to the cerebral level. However, appropriately timed what and how question do serve to intensify experiencing. Examples are questions such as, "What is happening with your body now as you speak about your isolation?" "How do you experience the fear of rejection in this group?" "What are some of the things you imagine happening to you if you reveal your problem to this group?" "How are you coping with your fear that you cannot trust some of the members here?" "What would your father's approval do for you?" This open-ended question directs the person to heighten awareness of the moment. Leaders can develop the skill of asking questions like these and avoiding questions that remove people from themselves. Group leaders need to develop skills in raising questions at the group level as well as working with individual members. Group process questions such as these can be productively addressed to the group as a whole. For example, "Where is the group with this topic now?" "I'm noticing that many of you are silent. I wonder what is not being said." "How much energy do you have at this moment?" Such questions can assist members in reflecting on what is happening in the group at different points. Linking. A group leader who has an interactional focus, that is, one who stresses member to member rather than leader to member communication, makes frequent use of linking. This is an important skill that can foster involvement by many members. This skill calls on the insightfulness of the leader in finding ways of relating what one person is doing or saying to the concern of another person. questions that promote linking of members. For example, does anyone else in this group feel connected to what Catherine is saying? Who else is affected by the interchange between Dewi and Rati? And are you willing to tell them how you are affected? From those two statements as examples, we know that by being alert for the cues that members have some common concern, the leader can promote member interaction and raise the level of group cohesion. Confronting. Beginning group leaders are often afraid to challenge group members for fear of hurting them, of being wrong, or of inviting retaliation. It does take both caring and skill, however, to confront group members when their behavior is disruptive of the group functioning, or when there are discrepancies between their verbal messages and their non-verbal messages. In confronting a member, a leader should, for the first, specifically identify the behavior to be examined and avoid labeling the person. Second, share how he or she feels about the person's behavior. For example, Tony has been chastising a group member for being especially quiet in the session. The leader might intervene. Tony, rather than telling her that she should speak up, are you willing to let her know how her silence affects you? Will you tell her why it is important to you that she speaks? As is true for other skills, leaders need to learn ways to confront both individual members and the group as a whole. For example, if the group seems to be low in energy and characterized by superficial discussion, the leader might encourage the members to talk about what they are seeing going on in the group for themselves and determine whether they want to change what is happening. Okay, this is the end of the part 1 of the counseling skills, and I will continue to explain another counseling skills in the second part. Stay tuned.